Welcome to Counterpoint on the Piano. I'm Noah, and today's short lesson is on the 4-3 suspension. Suspensions in Counterpoint are how we use dissonances. Dissonances are the intervals that when they are aligning harmonically, they don't sound as pleasant and stable as consonances. We've spent a lot of time already talking about thirds and sixths and how they are ubiquitous in music, and also the octave and the fifth, which are very stable but need to be handled a little bit more carefully. Today we're talking about the fourth, which is a dissonance, and it resolves to a third. So we have to do three things to make a suspension happen. We do a preparation with a consonant interval, and then the suspension, which is the dissonant interval, and then we resolve it down to a consonant interval, so from a fourth to a third. So when we talk about suspensions, we're basically talking about dissonance and how to handle it. And basically what we need to know is that we have to do a three-stage process. So we have our fourth, and it's a 4-3 suspension, so it goes from a fourth above the bass to a third. Now we can't just arrive directly on a fourth because it's a dissonance, especially when you add a third voice. So we have to do something called a preparation. So a preparation just means because the fourth right here is suspended, we have to have this note come first with a consonance, like an octave or a fifth or a third. So we have an octave, and then, since we've already played this voice, we can change the bass to make it the dissonance of a fourth, and then it resolves to a third. So our most basic thing that we can use it in is the cadence, which goes 1, 5, 1 in the bass, and our soprano voice can go 1, 7, 1. That's one of the most basic elements of classical music. But what we can do with our suspension is that we can take our octave, which prepares the suspension, and then play a fourth, which will be going up to the G in the bass, and then we resolve it. So the octave is one way to approach it. You can also approach it with the third, which would be, we could do A and C, which is a consonant, so that's our preparation, and then the bass goes down, 4, 3, and we can carry on with our music if we'd like. Also, a fifth can prepare the suspension, and that would mean that the bass moves up from a fifth, just moves up to a fourth, and then we resolve. So if we take our cadence, which is 1, 5, 1, that's a really popular place to have a 4-3 suspension. Octave, fourth, third, octave. Now another thing we can do is add a third voice right here. And this voice will go basically 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 3 rather. And what it's going to do is push the 4 down to a 3. So it's a 4-3 suspension, but often there will be a fourth above the bass as well as a fifth. And that adds to the dissonance. Let's try switching our voices. This will be our suspension, and we'll put our third voice in the middle. One thing that's cool about suspensions is that we can keep chaining them together. So when we go from our 1 to our 5, we've turned our octave to a fourth, and then we can do it again. We can take the octave from the 5 and then make this the fourth. Resolve it, 3, then take the octave, make that the fourth, octave, fourth, octave, it sounds a little bit better in a 3-voice texture because the 2 upper voices will alternate being the suspension. Octave, fourth, octave, fourth, octave, octave. So we chained the 4-3 together with an approach from the octave. Octave, 4-3, octave, 4-3, octave, 4-3, etc. We can also do it at the 5th. So we do 5, 4, 3, then we make a 5th below this. 5, 4, 3, 5, 4, 3, 5, 4, or whatever you want to do. We can add a 3rd voice and make a nice musical thing. Now, approaching the 4-3 suspension from a 3rd is very easy because all we have to do is walk the bass down 1 note, from a 3rd, and there's your 4th. And that's also very useful for suspensions that will modulate. So if we start on C and E, and we do a 4-3 suspension, it sounds like it should perhaps go there instead of doing something like that. 3, 4, 3, 3, 4, 3, 3. Let's keep our suspension just in the left hand and add something a little bit more interesting in the right hand above that. How about a little ditty that uses our 4-3 suspensions in different ways?